Alright, I started this project probably 2 years ago, and basically seen a couple other people's ideas or other people's versions of this, and I've been using these rigid boxes for a while now. I have them all on the roof of my trucks, and so that was the box I wanted to keep using, just because I don't know, just because the compatibility of it being able to lock together, and who doesn't like having a bunch of matching gear. So what I have in here is one of those what they call Chinese diesel heaters. It's like similar to what your home's forced air system is. The way this works is there's a combustion chamber in here. It burns off a diesel. I use kerosene. I'll go over that in a minute. So basically there's a combustion chamber in here, in a metal case inside this aluminum case. They come in plastic cases as well. I spent a little bit more money and got the aluminum case. And so there's a combustion chamber in here where it allows, it pulls in it's fresh air, burns it, and it exits back out. And there's a fan in here that basically pulls air in. Yeah, from pulls in this side. It's been a while since I've used this. Pulls air in, and it just travels around that heated or that metal combustion chamber in there. The air never mixes. The combustion chamber never mixes. It just floats, travels around that metal case, and heats up the air, and it comes back out this side. So that's basically how that works. Safer than what than most of your other heating systems that most people would use. Would be like a propane heater, like a Heater Buddy, most common. I still have one. It's what I started with. There's other brands of these. Most of them, I want to say, they're German brand, and they are probably upwards of like $800 for one of these units, and it was just way too much money for a heating system. I mean, don't do a lot of winter camping myself. Now that I have this, I'll probably be doing more winter camping, and it's a big game changer for sure. So basically, I've seen other people do a similar setup like this. They put it in a different case that I've seen. Most of the ones I've seen, they're done in like a DeWalt case. Not a big fan of, it's just brand preference, I guess. Like I said, I started with the rigid cases, and so this is one of the rigid cases to come in. They come in, or box wise, they come in 3 different sizes. This is like the medium sized one. There's another one that's about half the size. Those are the ones I use on the roof. This is the medium sized one, and there's one slightly bigger than this one that actually has wheels on the side, and they all stack together. They all latch together using their system here. And you can see it just clicks in right here. So you're able to stack boxes on top of each other and lock them in together. So this is the case I went with to build mine out. It isn't 100% complete. It is more of I wanted to do I've had a lot of questions about this. I was waiting for me to finish it and exactly get it how I wanted it before I did a review, but obviously in 2 years, nothing's really changed since. So hopefully this year I'll be motivated to get this a little bit more complete and more of a finished product, especially now that I have a 3D printer. I'm hoping to utilize that printer to create more finished products that will allow me to clean this thing up. So we'll start off with the box. It's a rigid box. My goal was to be able to fit everything I need. I wanted this all to be a self-contained unit, and didn't quite work out the way I wanted it, mainly because there was not that much space to fit everything. I mean, yeah, it fitted this one in here. I think I was able to fit one of these in there as well, but it was just super tight. And with most, if not all, my do-it-yourself projects I see something, I kind of, I see other people's ideas and I take that and kind of make it my own. I see stuff that I can improve off of theirs. Or I just have an end goal of something that I wanted and I kind of just, start with that. And it's one of those types of deals where you'll cross that bridge when you get there. So I had an idea, I started with I ordered the diesel heater and, start placing things in here, figure out where everything was going to go. And then, you just go as, you build as you go and then figure things out as you go. So, sometimes your end goal doesn't exactly end up the same, what you try and accomplish. So you got to either make changes or adjustments or whatever it may be, and go about it. So this case, I want to go over, there's actually, like a filler plate that fits in. Yeah, this one had the filler plate, I believe. I'm pretty sure this one did. I'm not sure if this one had the filler plates. I know the ones that are the half the size, the ones I use on my roof, there's a filler plate up here, because it uses these little cubby boxes, and that's supposed to be like what seals it tight so they don't jump around and mix. I'm not sure if there was. I can't tell. No, I don't think there was. So first thing I did was, got my diesel heater. These can be found off of Amazon or eBay. I bought this one originally, so they come in like a bunch of sizes now, but when I was doing them, they call them by KW. Don't know why. There's a 2 kW, a 5 kW, 8 kW, and I think there's even a 10 kW now. This unit's a 5 kW. I bought off of, pretty sure I bought it off of eBay. Originally I ordered a 2 kW one because it's a smaller in size. I guess that's what happened. They were smaller in size just a little bit, but that was, the goal was to be able to fit as much of the whole unit inside this one box. So I ordered the 2 kW one, read online, a lot of people had similar issues. I ordered a 2 kW one, you end up with a 5 kW one. And overall, if I could go back and change it, probably not. The 5 kW one works great. I run this at half power. So if I had a 2 kW one, I'd probably be running that a little bit higher. And the higher you run it, the louder it gets. So the 5 kW, I guess, in the long run, it worked out better. So what I did first was, most people that run these, I don't know if I would do it the way they did. Maybe if I did it a little bit differently, I don't know, it just takes up more space. It's a little bit, from what I've seen, it might be a little bit quicker setup because it's already done, but it's just 2 pipes. So what most people do will, actually, let's do a little quick walk around, show the back side right here. That's the intake and exhaust portion of the combustion chamber. So it has its own fresh air and its own exhaust. In the middle is the fuel line. You can see that's the exhaust and that's the intake for the combustion chamber in there. Most guys that I've seen that build these will bring this back over here and they'll run this is the exhaust pipe with the muffler and the intake. They'll run all that in here, and that way this intake will just like come out somewhere, wherever it may be, and then the exhaust, they'll just be the piping's already ran, and they'll literally just have to plug, I guess, the muffler right into it, however it may be. So I guess you can see that's a little bit quicker setup. You don't have to set up the intake because it's already there, and the exhaust, you probably just need to fix the muffler onto it and it'd be done. The only issue I've seen is, these are Chinese diesel heaters, and in here is fairly, this case isn't sealed. There's little ports and stuff like that. Air runs into it, comes back out. So the reason why I didn't like the other setup, which I know a lot of people have done and it works and they haven't had any issues, but I was just trying to minimize any issues as much as I can using these cheaper units. Another disclaimer, I guess, is a lot of people have hit and miss with these units. I've had this thing for 2 years. I don't use it a lot, but I haven't done anything to it other than just install it the way I bought it, and it's worked. I've had other people, message me all the time telling me they have issues, or you know, this and that. And I've been on a couple of Facebook groups, and I read about all the issues and stuff like that. And I don't know, maybe I just lucked out or whatever it may be. So let's get back to this, why I have it set up the way it is. Or the other way is, the reason why I didn't like the other setup was you would have to fix your pipe, exhaust pipe, obviously in here. I just didn't trust the connection from here to the fitting where the exhaust is in here, and be confident enough for it to not leak in here. I did not want the exhaust to be leaking in here, because obviously the outside of the shell and just behind the shell is where the fresh air flows in and goes over the metal combustion chamber, and that's where the hot air comes out. With my setup, it actually comes with this little rubber gasket. Most of these are, most of the kits, most of the people that are doing these are installing them in vans, and basically they just install it facing down on the ground of inside the floor of the van, and they just use this rubber gasket that comes through, and the exhaust and intake just vents off the floor. And that's how they install these in the vans. That's where these are originally done. And that's the other thing, was most people have them inside was because they wanted this unit. I mean, these units they can be installed in two different directions. Mine sideways, you can see it ports out sideways. Option one would be having it face down, where the exhaust intake faces down. That's the I wouldn't say ideal way, but that's how a lot of people do them. So that's why most of them ran this inside. They'll turn it up, upright, I guess, and the exhaust intake, and then they bring it up a little bit higher. That allows them to run their pipe, because obviously you can't, I mean, I guess you could, but a little harder to vent these out the bottom of this box unless you build legs for it. And just a little bit more work, I guess. So when they do it that way, it allows them to run their intake and exhaust, and have this box, or the heater, turned and raised up, and then their exhaust and intake can just be right below it. But I did a lot of research on that Facebook group. Even the instruction came with kind of crappy, but what you want to do, what you can't want to turn it, you actually can run this sideways, but it's not universal. I can't just take this and turn it the other way. There is a top side when it turns to its side. The reason is because the glow plug, it's a diesel heater, so there's a glow plug in there. The way right now it's set up, the glow plug is still on the top half of the combustion chamber. When you flip this the other way, rotate it, so you see this is how the diesel heater is. The exhaust is out here. If you take this, obviously you can do this and go like that and have it vent down. And so mine's like this. The vents are out the back for the combustion chamber. And if I were to take this and turn it like that, that would essentially put my glow plug near the bottom of the combustion chamber. And as fuel is being pumped in and stuff, that could cause an issue with the glow plug. The instructions, I think, either tell you which way it did, but I didn't trust instructions. So what I did was open up this case. It wasn't hard to do. This top half right here pops off once you unscrew. I don't have the caps anymore since I did them. Or actually, I think there is still one on this side. You just unscrew it, and this cap comes off. That allowed me to view the inside of it. And what I did was look for where the glow plug was inside. That way I knew when I rotate this sideways, that it will be orientated the way where the glow plug would be more upright instead of on the bottom side. So in my case, sideways intake for the fresh air, and the exhaust for the heated air. So that's how this one is done, the 5 kW. Yours may vary. I mean, they're made in China, so you never know how I don't know if it can be fitted differently, but again, I would double check. It would probably save you the trouble in the long run, building this. So what I did was set this thing in here, and kind of just eyeballed it where everything would go. I knew I wanted this plate. Came with this metal plate and the rubber gasket that you see fitted in here. Really thick silicone, actually it's a silicone gasket. And what basically set this height of this thing was this plate. I didn't want to trim the plate, and it happens to fit the backside of this thing, you know, almost perfectly. Only got 2 bolts in here because when I was fitting all this, couldn't quite get back down here anymore once the diesel heater was fitted. So that kind of set my height of my diesel heater, was this plate. Once I drilled the hole, used this plate, drilled the holes, it allowed me to fit this in. It almost sits on the bottom. So let's go take all this stuff out. I was hoping to go over what I should keep in here, but I guess we'll circle back. So it almost sits on the bottom. Probably will show you, but there is, actually there's quite a big, good amount of gap under here. I want to say maybe half an inch, about half an inch, maybe a little more, 3/4 of an inch. And what I did was, once it was bolted up here, that's what this unit's relying on, keeping this upright. I didn't really like that idea, so I happened to have some thick rubber mats or pads, I guess, from another project, and I had 2. I just cut them about, you know, square size, and I needed 2 of them, and that allowed me to sit it under here, and it kind of adds extra support, so this thing isn't relying on the side of this box to hold its weight. This one's an aluminum case, so it has a little bit of weight to it. They make a plastic version of it. I don't know, I just didn't want the plastic case. I wanted the metal, I think it's aluminum case. So added a little bit of weight, so I wanted a little bit extra support. You can see I can push down on there, and that rubber pad at the bottom keeps it from sagging, I guess, over time. So that's how I got this thing fitted. You know, it was just, you know, so that's how first part of the project was getting it fitted, and then I just had to figure out the rest of it, you know, and go build as you go, I guess. And it comes with, let's see here. So I think I added these fittings. Normally it comes with alligator clips. I have quick disconnects on here. So this unit right here, this big old harness, which I'll be changing, or hopefully I'll be editing this down a little bit, but it comes all here, a lot of it, so you're allowed to run this to your battery quite a distance. So I got this all fitted in here. My fuel pump I might redo. Right now it's sitting basically horizontal, and it's just bolted to the side. It came with this rubber holder for the fuel pump. The fuel pump ticks. It ticks depending on the speed. There's different ways you can set this thing. You can set the fuel pump speed, or set the heater temp, and use like a thermostat for it. I'll go over that later as well. But it doesn't come with the fuel filter. Mine came with this fuel tank. It's a 5-liter one. It's getting harder to find these complete units with this size 5-liter tank. They keep coming with this like, it's still like a 5-liter tank, but like the way the fill was, like there's a spout that comes up, and if I had that version, obviously this thing will not close. You can buy just this tank by itself. You know, you can buy almost every little part for this online. I got lucky, and mine happened to come with this perfectly sized height fuel tank. It's a 5-liter. Didn't come with the fuel filter. Probably don't need it, but I added one. I bought the red fuel lines, and it come with this. It came with the other ones, but I needed it to be a little bit more flexible. So these are silicone lines. I think I bought this kit from it was like for a mini bike or a dirt bike or something like that. Well, if I had to do it again, I would probably move the tank over more. I was trying to, these have the recessed right here on both sides, and it allows you to run a bolt through, so you can bolt this up to wherever you needed. If I had to do it again, you know, a little OCD, so I was trying to keep it a little symmetrical. You know, be a good idea to center it, but what that caused was a little bit of a kink here. Tight. It was very tight. It works. Every once in a while I might get a little drip. That's why there's a towel here, a little drop or two, but right now there's feel in here. You can see, yep, so you can see it's a little wet right there. So I don't know, maybe I'll redo it, maybe not. So it's just, you know, you start a project and you kind of just want it done. So that's how I ended up here. Actually, I think it did come with a fuel filter. But don't use the fuel, or from my experience, from what I read online, I wouldn't trust the fuel filter it comes with. The problem with the fuel filter it comes with, it leaks, like almost after the first use. So I didn't even bother trying it. I literally just went on Amazon and ordered a kit, a little mini fuel filter kit, and you know, I just got the measurements, what lines I needed, and I ended up getting a fuel filter kit. Yeah, came with actually a few of them. You can see right here, there's a spare. This is my spare parts bag, and you got extra hard fuel lines and stuff like that. And yeah, so I installed my own fuel filter kit here. You do have to drill your own holes into this case, so it allows you to kind of set this up the way you want. The cap has a vent, it looks like. Yeah, there's a little hole right there and it vents. So this thing is constantly venting. Wish it didn't, but I guess, you know, traveling, this case probably doesn't handle a lot of pressure well, so, you know, you gotta deal with it. But so the fuel pump, I may be redoing this setup here. I guess this being center still would have worked if I didn't already install this and then install this and then figure out the tubing afterwards. You know, I didn't have exactly a do-it-yourself guide when I did mine. I mean, I seen someone else's and I kind of like, oh, I can build something like that, but I wanted mine done a little differently. I wanted mine with as much of the combustion chamber system on the exterior, so that's why mine's mounted out to the outside and sideways. But I'm probably gonna redo this. I think the instructions for the fuel pump, you're supposed to have it angled like at a 45-degree angle, upright, I think it was. I gotta look into it again. I've done a little bit more research after I built mine since, and so I'm probably gonna be relocating this and not have it attached to the side of the box. Reason why is it ticks, and when it ticks, it transmits to the side of the box, and obviously it gets, you know, sent out. So what I'm gonna do is probably build an attachment either off of the case or something to where the fuel pump is installed away from the outside of the case and out here in the middle, where it's going to be kind of floating in the mid-air, and then that'll allow me to redo the fuel line. This stuff is silicone line, and then from this side, I wish I could show you, but it basically has a similar fitting to this, but you can see obviously this is super skinny. Do like that, you can see it's skinny. The way that works is that's a hard line. This is a hard, like, plastic fuel line right here. And what you do is basically take, let me put this down. Let's see if I can show you guys. Yeah, definitely a lot of learning doing this. Oh, here, if you guys want to look up the brand of the kit I bought. Oh, here it is. Yeah, that's the fuel filter it comes with. Piece of shit. I don't even know why I even have this in here. I should throw this away. From what I heard, this thing, it will leak instantly. So I bought this kit. This is the brand. I don't know. Might be able to find this off of Amazon. I don't know. Like I said, it was just like a mini bike fuel filter kit. It came with 3 filters, the silicone line, even the hose. I think it came with the clamps too. No, it came with the spring clamps. The screw clamps came with the diesel heater. Came with the zip ties, but actually here's some. So the diesel kit comes with these rubber lines, and then it comes with the hard line. The reason why it does that is this is the size that actually fits the. Is this the size? No, this isn't. Is it the size? I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, I think so the rubber line fits the fuel pump because this won't. This is just a hard plastic line. So what you want to do is just fit this to the fuel pump like so. Most people would think, you know, why not just run the rubber line all the way through? The issue is the fuel pumps on these are really, I don't know, I guess you can say they're sensitive. I don't know, picky, I guess you can say. And what they do is you fit the metal or the plastic. I guess I can take this out as well. Do this correct, show you guys. You know, so the plastic, this is a hard plastic line, and you just fit this in here. This basically, reason why they want to use the hard plastic line is there's less flex in this as the pump is being pumped into it, because it's done in like a, I don't know how, it's like a pulse. The fuel pump pulses. So it just pulses the fuel in, and as it pulses with a rubber line, I think the issue is it will just pulse and expand the line and not so much travel down the line. So that will cause issues with combustion chamber not burning, you know, the fuel. It's the fuel correctly with it being metered correctly that way. So you want as much of the hard line as possible doing this after the pump. I think before the pump, even before the pump, you will want, I mean, if you can, go as much hard line as you can. My run was so short, I couldn't fit any in there, so it wasn't an issue. Obviously I've been running mine like so it hasn't been an issue. But this is my spare parts bag of all the stuff I either bought to modify or go with, you know, make changes to the kit or whatever, and then all the extra parts that it came with, you know, or even the building materials or the extra stuff I used to build it. Some of the hardware that came with, a lot of screws and stuff, I kept a lot of it in this little, I guess I call it a repair kit. Oh, perfect, you can show this day too. That way, if I ever needed to do any field repairs, I have the ability to, even spare connectors if I ever had to fix my connections, whatever it may be, and with that instructions as well. What else is in here? Oh, and the version I got, oh man, I can't believe this is still on. The version I got came with a remote. I bought one. I specifically wanted the remote with mine. I was hoping to be able to remote control this remotely, but it didn't quite work out the way I planned, because I keep this box on the exterior of my truck, and the range of this thing is crap. Literally, you have to be like within a foot or two of this thing in the same space with no walls for it to work. I mean, it's still cool, probably still use it. Oh, actually, you know what? It does work. I just never use it because it doesn't have to be in range of the actual physical box of this box. It just has to be within range of the control unit, which I'll show in just a second here. So these are all the spare parts it came with. Man, making this video probably way too long. But it's a lot to cover, a lot of questions. I just want to go over it all in one shot. And in one video, I guess. So I have all this winded up. So what's in here is I converted mine. It usually comes with alligator clips, I believe. I run mine off a cigarette lighter plug because I have my truck set up to, there's a dedicated plug for this in the vehicle. That way I don't have to pop my hood and run power all the way to the front. I have power in the back or wherever I'd be using it. On my Tundra, I have power in the bed where it plugs this in. On my Sequoia, I have a plug for this also on the doors, where that's where I feed the unit through. So it just plugs into that, and doesn't come with this case. This is actually like a tire inflator case my buddy gave me. It broke on him, and he just gave it to me, and I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with those. Nice little case because it's actually foam padded in here. I can even get this thing open. It's foam padded in here, and this is basically the control unit. Mine has the blue digital display. They come with a black one, blue one. I think there's a gold one too. There's so many different versions of these things, and honestly, I mean, I did a lot of research on that Facebook group page, and that's where I kind of learned a lot of this before I got dug into it. And what kind of helped me decide which one I wanted to go with. I went with the one with the blue face one. Oh, I don't want the blue face one, but it was the only one that at the time that came with the controller. So I got the blue face controller unit, and that plugs into this as well. Probably set up a little fire up deal, and this plugs into this as well. And this is basically, there's a thermostat in this thing. I never use it in a thermostat setting. I use it as where I just control the fuel pump. So obviously the more fuel goes in, the hotter it gets. Less fuel goes in, the not as hot as it gets. So, and it gives me more of a fixed temperature instead of trying to mess with the thermostat thing, because you can set the temperature on this thing, and then it's supposed to ramp up and down, accordingly to kind of try to hit that temperature. I just didn't want this thing constantly be going up, down, changing this fan speed, changing the fuel pump speed. I just set it for a fixed temperature and let it just feed that temperature constantly. So this thing is normally, I mean, you can use whatever you want for whichever side. This is actually usually used on the other side where the air comes out. That way you can direct where the air goes. I'm using on the intake side where it pulls in fresh air. I keep the box on the outside, grabs in fresh air. You could run this back into the cab and have it recirculate. I didn't want it recirculating because I just wanted to pull fresh air in instead of recirculating it. But I don't use this inside the cab, so I put it on the outside because I've used this in the snow before, and this kind of gives it almost like a little weather shield, so I'm not just sucking in snow. So this allows me to kind of suck in air without pulling in snow or rain, whatever it may be. And on this side, my kit comes with these aluminum hoses. I think they're 3 inches, and these expand out. I don't know if I never expanded this, but they expand out. It's a lot more rigid than this. These are like the dryer ducts that you get at Home Depot. I went and bought some dryer ducts because I might be switching back to this, just because it's a little bit more rigid. It just doesn't seem like it crushes them as much. Storing this over time has caused this to deform, and it kind of sucks. So I put a little styrofoam, little foam insert here to kind of just keep it plugged up, keep critters out, spiders, whatever it may be. You can see the combustion chamber. That's the combustion chamber heat. The shell of the combustion chamber, you see it's metal. It's got heat vents on there. I guess the fan is actually on this side. There's a fan, it almost looks like a computer fan that just spins, and it brings air from the outside in, and it gets heated, and it flows over the heat chamber, or the combustion chamber, with these heat sinks, and it heats the air up, and it comes out on this side. So normally I pull this off and then connect this tube, and then I just run this into my cab, wherever it may be, and then hot air comes out of this thing, and then I run this inside the cab so I can control the unit, the temperature of it. And I guess I can kind of show you it all set up. So I kind of cut out the ribs of this to allow me to kind of just fit this in here. It works pretty good. Every once in a while it falls down. Probably gonna redo the setup. I have a 3D printer now, so I may be designing a new fit kit to fit these units in here, a little bit nicer, and then redoing the cable on this as well. Mine came with a T. You can split it. I used it on camp once where I split the fitting. Obviously I have multiple hoses of this, but you can split the feed from the heating unit and have it go to 2 different places. In my case, I've done it this way once. I teed it off, and I fed one to my cab and one to a rooftop tent. The only problem is when it's teed off, I had to run this at full blast. I had to turn this up to full setting just for this to be able to push enough air in to split between 2 units. If I had to do a split kit again, I would probably go from the 3-inch here, but have it downsized to maybe a 1.5 and then a 1.5. That way, we both get, it would have been the same amount of air, but the system probably wouldn't have had to work as hard, because I mean, you can see the intake is 3 inches, exhaust is 3 inches, and then how is it going to go from 3 inches to 3 and 3? That's 6. You know what I'm saying? So that's just 2. So there's not going to be 3 inches worth of air coming through here, because it's going to have to be split. So if someone pressurizes one side of it, capped it off, then it's going to, cause it to go one way or the other. And that's what I kind of had to do a little bit. But in the rooftop tent, obviously it was going to be a lot colder than I was. It was snowing. So I kind of ran mine into my sleeping bag and kind of just kept a little bit more pressure in there, and hoping that it would redirect more into his tent to keep him a little bit warmer, since I was sleeping in my camper shell, which is a little bit more insulated, a little bit more warmer. So that's what I would do if I had to do it, if I were to do a split unit again, split it. But in emergency, this worked. I brought it out there and it worked for both of us. So the intake, it's just a little mesh screen, not really a filter. Just connects right here, and what I do is I kind of just run it up to the bottom of this, and this intake stays up. So a lot of people wonder, like, well, if I were to run this setup inside, why does the intake need to come back outside? The reason why is this is connected to the combustion chamber, and so is the exhaust. If for whatever reason the combustion chamber fails, or it just doesn't run right, and some of the gases don't come out through here, because obviously the intake exhaust goes in the combustion chamber. If whatever reason it doesn't burn correctly, and it starts venting the exhaust gases through here, it's going to smoke out of this thing. Instead of coming out of the tailpipe, it's going to come out through your intake. So that's why you want both of the combustion chambers outside. And in my case, I kept this upright up here. Remember, this is the intake for the fresh air, so I keep my exhaust blowing this side. This is how it comes with the 90 already. You can bend this any which way you want. Muffler makes a huge difference. Run it with the muffler, doesn't cost anything, comes with it. So it just connects right there. A lot of times I kind of just point mine at an angle upright or something like that, and it vents out the exhaust this way. My intake, I keep on top of the box. Let's close this. And all I just do is open this up, and it allows me to prop it underneath this, under here. That way, if the exhaust fumes ever come out, it just vents upright. At least I hope it does. Same thing with the exhaust here. I vent this up. Sometimes I even point it upright. If it's not snowing or raining, I just point it upright, put my muffler right here, and it just vents out the top. So yeah, let me get this connected and fire it up and show you how it works. A little ahead of myself. I don't know if I would do this. I mean, I probably would do it a little differently. I mean, it's already done, so I really don't want to redo it. I mean, this is not too much of a how-to. It's more of how I did it. I bought this as a. I don't know why this. What I do? This melted for some reason. It comes out hot. This is like a flange for like an intake to like a square box, like a 3-inch intake. Bought this off of Amazon. I bought a few of them. And let's see here. What I did was, this one's on the inside like this. I created a flange on the inside, and I created a flange on the outside. This is a metal version of it. If I had to do it again, probably would have just gone with 2 metal ones. Done one on this side, and then just sandwiched another one on the inside. That allowed me to connect this to the outside and give me a connection out here. If you didn't want to do it this way, you probably could just cut the hole here and then just fit this into it, and it would have been fine. But I was trying to keep this box as sealed as I can, because I was leaving this hole. I mean, I guess I could have done a door here and still would have been fine. Could have saved a little bit of money, because these things weren't cheap. But yeah, I mean, this is the route I went, so this is what I have. again, you know, you can see there's the plastic. Oh, where's all this dirt come from? You can see this plastic version of it is right in there, right there. And basically it's essentially two of these back to back, creating a flange on the inside and the outside. And then I took some of the heater duct, super short. This was not fun fitting in here. So I took some of the heating duct here, or the dryer duct, just fitted one right in there, hose clamped it in, and that gave me my sealed connection and allowed me to have a connection out here. All right, so now we go to the firing up.